Story 1. Am I the a-hole for telling my uncle to stop gifting my daughter extravagant trips? So, a little backstory. When my sister and I were kids, every year for our birthdays and Christmas, my uncle would give us cards. Inside those cards would be a printed out picture of some place, i.e., local theme parks, the zoo, aquarium, museums, any place a kid would love to go. After we opened them, he would tell us that we were going to that place. He would say things like, "It's going to be the best trip of your life." That would obviously make us very excited. Here's the thing. We never went on any of those trips. We never went to any of those places. As a young kid, it would be disappointing, but after a while I started expecting it and just going along with it. I don't hold any animosity towards him at all, obviously. As an adult now, I understand he did that because he didn't have the means to buy us gifts. Here's where I'm starting to have a little bit of an issue with it. My daughter's 5th birthday was last week. My uncle gave her a card. She opened it to find a printed out picture of a theme park about 2 hours away from our house. And he promised her a fun weekend away. He promised her things like a giant hotel room with a swimming pool, all the snacks she could ever want, and tickets to every show she wants to see at the park. She was over the moon. For the past week, my daughter has talked non-stop about this trip. She keeps telling me how excited she is and how excited her whole class at school is for her. It breaks my heart to look at that smile on her face knowing it's not gonna happen. I remember how disappointing it was for me, and I don't want her to go through that. So I texted my uncle. Here's what the message said. "Hi, your message in daughter's name's card was so beautiful. Do you think next time you could leave out the promise of an extravagant trip? The thought and gesture is amazing. However, I never know what to say when she asks me when this trip will be. She absolutely loves spending time with you, so I know the promise of even a nice lunch together would make her so happy." He never responded, but my aunt told me he was upset. She said something like he was offended that I implied the only thing he could afford was a nice lunch. I didn't mean it like that at all. I just wanted him to understand that she loves him and wants to spend time with him, and he doesn't need to promise impossible things to make that happen. But I can see why he interpreted it the way he did. And that's where I'm wondering if I'm the a-hole. This has been an unspoken thing in my family for so many years, so I'm now wondering if I should have just kept it that way. I just can't stand the thought of my little girl getting disappointed so many times. My sister and my mom agree with me. My mom even said she wished she stopped it when we were kids. So, am I the a-hole for telling my uncle to stop giving my daughter extravagant trips? Not only are you not an a-hole for asking him that, your uncle is being kind of an a-hole. I'm sorry, but constantly promising kids like trips to get them all excited and never once delivering on that, and knowing that that's something that you've done, and then getting upset when you're called out for it, is just kind of a butthole thing to do. Like, that's not cool at all. Like, getting a child excited like that does not make up for then crushing disappointment of not actually getting what they want. That's a good way to make a child not trust you. The fact that he's all butthurt about it, I'm sorry, he needs to get over that and needs to actually start offering gifts that he can, give. Like, a nice lunch out would be wonderful. Do that. Tell her you'll treat her out to, ice cream in the movies. A kid would love that. A 5-year-old? Ice cream in the movies? That's wonderful. I would be delighted if I was a 5-year-old get to do that. So yeah, I'm sorry. The uncle needs to learn what he's doing is not cool. Story 2. My copycat friend is acting seductively in front of my husband. A little backstory. I knew this girl in high school, and we fell out of touch until about a year and a half ago, 14 years later, when she reached out on social media telling me we're neighbors and she lives just 5 minutes from me. I messaged her back because I thought it would be nice to reconnect. The first hangout was over coffee, and it went okay, but she kept it super brief and kept mentioning that she wanted to bring our partners to meet each other. I noticed that everything she talked about had to do with status, her job, her fancy handbags, her properties, etc. On the second hangout, we brought our partners. I noticed she dressed like she was going clubbing, despite it being a cold winter night. Throughout the entire hangout, she was mostly talking to my husband. I tried to get a word in with her fiancé since it felt awkward that we were just sitting there, but she kept interjecting. He even said, "I'm used to it," and laughed it off. After the hangout, she insisted that we set another hangout date on the spot for us to see her new house. She asked my husband for his phone number so that she could create a group chat. I thought it was a little strange that she was so persistent in having the hangouts so close together, but my husband said that we should give it a chance since it had been so long since she and I had reconnected. When we went over to their house, she was wearing a super skimpy top, clearly with no bra, and tiny sleep shorts and knee-high socks. Throughout the night, she was once again mostly talking to my husband and kept bending over in front of him. It was so weird that when we got home, my husband was like, "Was it just me or did she dress like a little inappropriately? And did she have a really sore back?" Over the years, my husband has always made little jokes about how he loves my butt, a little endearing thing between us, and he sometimes comments on my social media posts with little cheeky jokes, no pun intended. I'm pretty active on social media, and it turns out my friend had been following my account for a while, so I'm wondering if I was paying attention to what he's into. I'm not the type to shame someone for wanting to dress a certain way, and maybe she really had a sore back that day, so I brushed it off. Here's where it gets weird. She came over to our house next and started talking about intercourse. Not with her fiancé, but just intercourse in general. What turns her on, what adult entertainment she likes to watch. She sat across from my husband and basically talked to him the entire time while me and her fiancé awkwardly sat there. She said, "Spicy food makes you horny," and my husband jokingly said, "I like spicy food." I started noticing that she was mirroring a lot of my interests and hobbies and started buying the same items as me. I used to be super into fashion, so I would post all the items I had on social media and how I styled my outfits. She revealed to me that she owned every handbag/coat I have in the same style but the more expensive option. I posted a lot about the books that I read, and she told me she read all of them and more. I've been in one industry for work for a few years, and she apparently is in the same one. Her fiancé and my husband apparently have a lot of the same interests, and they even have the same favorite store and have almost identical clothing. He even admits to my husband he copies his outfits because my husband has good style. Her fiancé has the same height, build, hair, and even similar mannerisms. She now lives only 5 minutes from us. We've been living in the same area for a few years now and posted about our move on social media. She told my husband that her fiancé absolutely adores him and wants to hang out with him more. She asked me to be her bridesmaid and for my husband to be a groomsman. My husband has always wanted to have some more close guy friends, so he was pretty happy to hear this. I was starting to get worried about how involved they were becoming in our lives. I noticed that my friend was treating me differently when it was just me and her versus when our partners were around. She got snappy with me a few times when it was just me and her or me and her bridesmaids. She got a bit snappy with me a few times when our partners weren't around. When I told my husband, he was surprised because she seemed pretty nice for the most part. Her wedding was a 4-day affair. Throughout the weekend, she treated me like her maid, demanding that I needed to help her with a bunch of things and didn't say thank you a single time. I spent most of my free time chatting with her other friends since she wasn't really talking to me other than when she needed something from me. I noticed she would get jealous when her friends enjoyed talking to me and would immediately pull their attention away from me. On the first night, she decided to cast a video of her bending over and twerking with her butt hanging out of her shorts. Some people laughed, most people looked uncomfortable. I always chalked a lot of this behavior up to her being funny and the life of the party, but I noticed she always tried to do overtly intimate things in front of my husband. Someone even captured a video of her twerking in front of my husband. He laughed along with it instead of walking away, which made me furious. The same night, she drunkenly fell on the couch and almost sat on my husband's lap, then proceeded to straddle the girl next to him. Shortly after that, she started dancing inappropriately with another girl in front of my husband once again. I witnessed all of this and was furious that my husband never made the effort to get up and walk away or just turn away to show that she was being inappropriate. Now that the wedding is finally over, my husband and I can finally keep some distance because we're no longer part of the wedding party. The only issue is we're now arguing about this because I'm still upset that he doesn't see through her sneaky actions and set boundaries. He wants to still be friends with her now husband and enjoys hanging out with the other groomsmen as well. Am I right in being upset with my husband? Is it possible to place boundaries on this relationship without jeopardizing my husband's relationship with her husband? I feel like I just read, the Hallmark Channel's version of the talented Mr. Ripley, but the not so talented Ms. Ripley. I don't know. This sounds so weirdly overt and kind of hard to believe, but like, it seems like this person was maybe obsessed with you in high school, but maybe you weren't that good of friends in high school, and then she's always like, I'll show her, I'll be better than her, I'll have everything she's ever had, I'll show her, and now she's trying to do that like she's some sort of like weird villain in an 80s movie or something. I don't understand this person's mindset. Like, she wants to steal your life. She wants to talented Mr. Ripley you. Watch out. Just get out of there. Ah, how's the peeping, Tommy? Story 3. Messed up bully's life. In Asia, there's a concept of ragging in colleges. It's a form of hazing done by seniors on newcomers. People defend it by saying it's supposed to break the ice, but it's nothing but a form of humiliation and mental torture, if not physical. Laws are trying to clamp it down, but the practice is still so widespread it's pretty much expected once you enter college life. It happened to me in college, and of all things, the most humiliating part was them forcing me to dance in a lewd way. It was over in seconds, but the memory was just burned in my head for days and I couldn't get rid of it. I already knew from my college history that reporting to them directly doesn't do jack, though ragging is strictly banned. Well, the government had made portals and helplines to report these things. That resource seemed untapped to me, so I officially filed a complaint and did my best to move on with my life. 10 years later, I came to know the police wanted to talk to me to close the case. I had forgotten about the whole thing, but now that something was happening, I wasn't willing to just drop it. So they made it to an official charge against the 4 perps. Turns out the boys were all working abroad, so am I, and got scared out of their minds on realizing there's an official charge against them. Working abroad requires visas, and all renewal forms have questions like, have you ever been charged? Doesn't matter if you are found innocent or guilty, you have to tick it yes. For countries with high immigration rates, that's a potential death sentence on your visas. Renewals can get rejected even if you have a solid explanation. One of the boys found and contacted me via social media begging me to take my complaint back, offer me money. Too bad for him, I'm well-to-do. I informed this to the police in charge, and he's in a deeper hole. As for me, seeing some semblance of justice was really cathartic and helped me actually heal instead of forgetting about it. Any of the people who I ever see as like full-fledged adults out in the workforce who defend college hazing and all that kind of stuff are consistently the least appealing, least interesting people I've ever met. They're the kind of people where I'm like, oh, you're just a cliche. You have nothing to offer a stimulating conversation. You're just like, yeah, I know, it's the best time of my life. College, woo, that's okay. Like, folks, it's not as great as you seem to think it is. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think there's reasonable, just like, oh, yeah, oh, it's your first week here at college. And a little something like, welcome to college, like a little prank, something harmless that they can laugh at afterwards. But most of that crap is like traumatizing sounding. And the people who are like, no, it's not. I look at them and I go, oh, believe me, it is, because you need therapy. Story 4. Today I effed up by trying to hitch a ride. This is happening as I'm riding, sitting on the curb of a gas station. I'm doing a medical residency program in a city far away from my birthplace, and hitherto the start of said program, the only I continuously lived in. As one would expect, I get really homesick and my relatives miss me a lot, so I try to visit whenever possible. The holidays, November 2nd in my country then, presented me with a great opportunity as I could also sign up for an online event and extend my stay for a week. Because I arrived late every time I took a bus back to the city I worked in, I decided to give a popular carpooling app another try, booking a trip with a reputable driver 4 days ahead of time. Do note that yes, it has failed me in the past, but this one takes the cake. Just today I got an email telling me the ride had been canceled because the driver was marked as suspicious. I immediately contacted the driver to know what's up. We had been in contact previously, and he then explained he was reported by scammers who paid half of the listed price and used the fact that he shared the driving with a friend as justification for reporting, which seemed plausible enough, and the bus rides were double the price at this point in time. This has taught me a valuable lesson. Don't ignore signs from the universe. Bro arrived in a sorry sight of a beater, but hey, too late to turn back, eh? Guy's real nice, photos check out, let's go! Not 20 minutes after we hit the road, he says that the car is weaker than it should be. Flooring it, rotation goes up to 6K, but it's reaching 70 kilometers per hour tops. Then 60, then 40, which seems to be where it plateaus. Restart the car, the problem restarts. Wait 10 minutes, same. Drive to a gas station, wait 30 minutes, do some TikTok voodoo to reset the gearbox. Same goddamn crap. Only it did give us some false hope for 5 minutes or so. We then double back and enter the stage wherein I write this. Driver bro then has the idea that it may be due to him using a slightly smaller spare. He just now bolted the old tire and calibrated all of them. If I sense even a single sliver of hope that we're going the full trip, I'm going to flip my crap and take this bathtub of a car along for said flip. I know buses aren't fun, and I don't know what country this is in, but maybe the buses are even worse there. But I will say, I will always gladly pay more to take a trip via a professional, certified, transportation line than some sort of carpool app with someone I've never met. Even if the trip seems to go fine, but the person's just awkward or wants to talk to me the whole time or something? No! I will pay more. I will pay triple. I will pay quadruple to avoid being in a carpool trip with a total stranger. I know that, well, this person's in college or whatever, I'm sure money is super tight, and that really sucks. But it's gotta be worth it, right? I mean, I think this person would agree with me at this point. Story 5. Am I wrong for helping my dad's former mistress and her daughter? I, 25 female, was an only child until all this went down. My mom, 45 female, and dad, 65 male, have been married for 26 years. So yeah, when they got together, my mom was 19 and my dad was almost 40. My whole life I thought their age gap was weird. However, my parents for the most part appear to be happy and in love. They adore me, so I guess I never really saw the problem until I put all the pieces together. My mom and dad are both professors, but at different colleges. My dad has always been that professor to go the extra mile and help students. I noticed in my late teen years, he'd tutor students at our house. A couple of times he did it when my mom wasn't home, and the students were usually female. When this would happen, I'd tell my mom, and she would always shut me down. She wasn't defensive, more dismissive. I moved out when I was 18, so I didn't see anything else. My dad retired pretty abruptly at the start of last year. He never gave any hint that he'd do this. He loves his job. I have now found out my dad got a 20-year-old student pregnant. We'll call her B. B, 22 female, threatened to report him if he didn't help out with the child, and he retired and ghosted her. B got in contact with me and explained everything, that my dad manipulated her, said my mom was evil, and that he'd leave my mom for her. She admits to being stupid and in love. They had a relationship for about a month, then he started ignoring her. She sent me a photo of my half-sister, and she looked exactly like me. She's almost 2. B asked me to meet her and her daughter, and I said I'd think about it. I decided to let my mom know beforehand, and to my disgust, she already knew. B has been contacting my mother this whole time, and my mother ignored her. B and her daughter live in their car, and all she wanted was a little support so they weren't homeless. I was disgusted with my mother and father. My dad ended up coming into the room in the middle of the conversation and told me B was just an S and the kid wasn't his. He also admitted to cheating and said my mom had forgiven him. My mom laughed and said B was beneath them, and if she wants help, she can get assistance. I was so angry I yelled at them. My dad asked how he could make it better, and I said, get a DNA test. It's been a few weeks, and my dad is the father. I've met my little sister and B, and I love them both so much already. B and her daughter have moved in with me, and I'm helping B get a lawyer so she can go after my dad for child support. I've also found out that my dad had affairs with dozens of women ages 18 to 20. My dad's a creep, and I can't even look at him. My mom found out about B and my sister living with me, and she won't stop calling and texting me. She keeps calling me a traitor and saying if I don't make this right, she'll disown me. I love my mom, I do, but I told her she has no right judging me when she knew all of this and did nothing to help and didn't hold my dad accountable. My dad sent me a text saying my mom won't leave the house and she has been crying because she wants me to let this go. I ignored him. I don't know why I'm choosing this hill to die on, but it just feels like the right thing to do. However, I'm having second thoughts. Everyone is so upset, and even B says I don't have to do this because she can see how stressed I am. So I guess I just need to know for sure. Am I wrong? You are not wrong. And your dad is a piece of crap, and your mother needs to get over it. Like, as you said, this is like your half-sister, and this woman, B, like, granted, she is an adult and everything, but she was seduced by someone who is in a position of power over her, and that is not a healthy, balanced relationship. She was young and impressionable, and he had all that authority. That's not okay. Your father has a responsibility to child support at the very least, and you helping her out is such a wonderful, great thing. It's great that you aren't just like, holding it against her, this infidelity, but instead seeing her as a person, seeing this half-sister of yours and showing compassion for them. And I know it's stressful because your parents are both being a-hats about this, but I say keep going. I say what you're doing is a wonderful human thing, and I hope that your dad gets raked across the coals for some child support because that's what should happen. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.